There is a convergence of three different things happening right now. If we look at the American economy and what's happening, it's quite literally flashing and crashing before our eyes. After all, if you have not heard the news, remember the peace deal that was supposed to happen on June 19th, none other than Juneteenth? Well, my friends, I'm sorry to break it to you, but there will be no peace deal with America and Iran. In fact, Iran has already said they are closing the Strait of Hormuz. Why are they closing the Strait of Hormuz? Because President Donald Trump threatened them, probably on Truth Social or whatever, or maybe via a private letter. He said that he was basically going to just blow them out of the universe. And they were like, we're not doing the threats. He said he would do it if they opened the Strait of Hormuz or if they closed it again. And guess what? They just said, you know what, we're going to go ahead and close it. But there's two other cords and prongs that you need to be aware of, because while this is happening with America, there's also stuff happening in Europe with France and Germany's and the United Kingdom's economies. This is a three-pronged cord that is just flashing right before our eyes, collapsing the world system that we see today into something new. And then the third piece of this, aside from America and Europe, is the Sahel Alliance. Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, which have formed an alliance together to defend Mali against France. We're going to talk about it today. You might as well get a seat. You might as well grab a cup of coffee, because we're going to get into it. Now remember, Benjamin Netanyahu already told the folks, the Prime Minister of Israel said that he is kind of pissed at Trump, and Trump was cussing him out. Yes, using the F-bomb. Very strong language to talk to a diplomatic leader, one of his closest allies. And then, you know, I was listening to the Diary of a CEO. JD Vance was on there. I listened to the entire interview. I thought it was a great interview, okay? I thought it was great because I felt like I was getting intel into the Trump administration, because JD Vance was telling the folks that, you know, Trump isn't a bad guy, all of these things. But what really stuck out was he created and articulated a divergence between what the Israelis believe is a mission and what America believes is a mission is designated for Iran. This was back when they thought they were doing the peace deal. Be aware of that. JD Vance proceeds to say that America wants this peace deal. Trump wants this peace deal so that he can also have peace with the Abrahamic Accord, okay? So this is on the American side. Think about this. Iran has basically said there's going to be no peace, there's going to be all war, and you're going to see your oil shoot up. Now, by the way, if you're listening to this video and you feel like you're unprepared, I get it. I understand. You probably feel super unprepared, because some of our clients in the Mature Adult Intensive, they say they have booked their tickets for July, and I'm so happy for them that they are getting out of the United States of America, because this oil war is going to literally crush the American economy, not because America doesn't have oil, because they just basically ravaged Venezuela earlier in 2026, but because the food supply chain is not ready for this. The AI data centers are draining all of the American resources, and so Americans are fleeing in record numbers, larger than ever before. This is why our clients join the Mature Adult Intensive. Check out the link in the description. But we also have a new book. My husband published his investing book. We have been studying the markets for the past 4 years diligently, more than most people have time for, since we do live in Africa on an island. We have quite a lot of time on our hands since living abroad, having a 60% lower cost of living, being able to invest in the market in like water ETFs, investing in gold ETFs, silver, tech as well. We have some tech holdings like Nvidia, but we're breaking it down to the beginner level. He broke it down so well, where a 15-year-old, a 13-year-old can understand the foundations, because you don't want to get scammed in the market. You don't want to enter too early or too late. Link in the description to purchase that, because it will make you your next $1,000 in the market, or save you your next $1,000 in the market. This is also how we are able to retain our money while abroad. People always ask, how do you make money abroad? Well, part of it is actually retention and retaining those resources. Link below. But yes, this will totally ravage the U.S. economy and cause a level of damage that you have not seen. And so if you are not prepared, even if you are staying in the United States of America, I want you to purchase rice and oil today. I want you to purchase some butter, maybe grab another deep freezer, meet with your local farmer's market. Back when I lived in Ohio, we had a farmer's market out in Reynoldsburg. Grew up in Ohio, okay? My granny would take me to the farmer's market. It was a good 45 minutes away from her house when I would go to visit her, but it was always an experience to get that fresh, organic food. Pause this video, make plans to do this today if you are in the United States of America. And then let's zoom over to Europe, France, Germany, and the United Kingdom, because we need to look at these economies to understand what's happening. Then we're gonna touch on the West African Sahel Alliance. A lot of Americans are unaware of this, but Germany's economy is quite literally collapsing before our eyes. Their GDP is not reaching the levels that it needs to reach, along with France losing all of their power and resources. Because when Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger hit back and said, hey, you can't get uranium from us, well, it kind of crucified France's electrical grid. But that's not it, because that was last year that happened, and it has been in play throughout the whole year. But now we also have the Iran war and the Strait of Hormuz closure that has plagued 2026. So France's economy, Germany's economy, they are taking hits. I mean, Europe is going to be totally and completely in the dark. They are sending out warnings to their citizens. If the Strait of Hormuz remains closed for another couple of weeks, we may be in blackout territory. But I want you to understand in Africa what happens, because in World War II, most people don't know that in World War II, Africa produced their agriculture and had to send the best of their products and their food, their first fruits literally, to places like the United Kingdom, France, okay? Because France needed the food more than the Africans. Isn't this insane? Quite literally in East Africa, of course, West Africa as well. And so we are seeing a global awakening of these nations being independent and having their own resources. I mean, let's be real. France has colonized a good part of West Africa, Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger. I believe they even colonized Congo. They had their hands in Rwanda, Mauritius, I believe Seychelles, Vietnam. The United Kingdom, we know, has gone through the whole earth, including India, including Tanzania, including Kenya, Mauritius as well, the Portuguese. All of those folks have gone through, but they are quite literally about to go back to the dark ages. It's kind of wild. And the people who are in Europe, who are aware of this and are wanting to repent for it, the small remnant of people, they are fleeing outside of Europe, okay? They're like, we know judgment is coming. We know the tables are about to turn. You didn't have to tell us. We know what we did. We know what our ancestors did. Remember, Jeremiah 16:19 actually discusses how this would happen. It's a great Bible verse. You should read it. Quite literally, Jeremiah 16:19, the 400 years, 2019 to 1619, Jeremiah 16:19 states the Gentiles, the heathen, would wake up and understand and say, our fathers have inherited lies. We've inherited lies about what has happened on the earth, and those are those days of judgment. This is a good time for the African continent, depending on which country you are in. As an American, you have access if you go to countries that do not have embassies that are closed, like a Mauritius, like a South Africa. South Africa is not my top choice, and we cover this so much on this channel, but if you just want to go to the continent, you could go to Cape Town, right? You may not be able to stay that long because you do need to file your paperwork on the American side at the U.S. Embassy in Washington, D.C. for South Africa. Then you would be able to get residence properly, unless you're retired. But these are the places that you're going to be able to go as they're closing down these U.S. embassies, preparing for war. Because remember, we did videos months ago talking about embassy closures. Literally last year, if you were to go back on this channel and to go to the most viewed videos, you're going to find that everything is coming into fruition. We said, hey, the embassy closures are going to lead to war. And look at us now. We're looking at World War III because Iran said, as of today, the strait is closed, okay? No more oil for the rest of the world, and really it's going to impact Europe the worst. And all of this is happening around the globe while the AES, the union between Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, because all of this is connected, we have to talk about these things simultaneously so you can look at the world really a little bit of the way the Most High Yah sees it, because you have to think, when he looks down at the earth, he sees everything that's happening simultaneously. And if we can just understand an ounce of that, then we're going to be wiser, more diligent people that are able to follow his ways through this earth in the end times. countries. So if we go to West Africa and the Sahel Alliance, they have said, Burkina and Niger have said that they are ready to help Mali defend whatever is happening in the army, whatever attacks that are happening with potential people from France, with potential people from Europe who are going in because they are desperate. Understand, European nations are going to get more desperate in these times. They're going to be very desperate because when you go back to the Dark Ages, after having the European colonization renaissance, well, then you have a lot of big issues, right? You have to deal with food supply disruptions, oil, which literally powers everything, cars, you know, your gas, your stoves, your heat, because let's not forget that Europe is a very cold place. It's not like the continent. It's not like an island nation where the coldest you get, like I'm in winter right now for our island, but the coldest you're gonna see is like a 65 degrees, a 70 degrees, still very livable. You can still produce food and plant food, all of those things. Europe, it gets very, very cold, very, very quickly. And so you're going to have a dark winter that's coming in 2026 for the European continent, okay? All of these things are a conglomerate that's happening together, signaling the end times, signaling you need to get out of the West, okay? You want to flee the West. And it's so interesting also how Candace Owens has been going to Russia, and some people agree with her, some don't, but I think it's so interesting how a lot of people are just kind of looking eastward, looking to territories that America used to say, don't look over there, don't look at China, definitely don't look at Africa, don't look at Russia, don't look at what anybody's doing over there. Now, if you want to look somewhere, you can look at the United Kingdom or Germany or France. Those are the places that you need to look, maybe Mexico or Canada, but no. People are standing up and saying, you know, I'm just curious about these things, these places that you said that I shouldn't go to, places that you said hate us so much. Is it really the other way around? Is it that the United States of America's propaganda machine has been lying to us the whole time? These are the type of questions you start to ask, and then they prompt you to go on a road and you start thinking, you know what, I think I may just leave America. Right? I think I'm gonna just leave altogether. I want to experience the world for myself. Thank you very much. I think I'm a sovereign human being that has that ability and the right to do that. So I want to see what's out there. And, you know, back in 2020 when we left, we knew. You ain't have to tell us, okay? We knew when we left we did not want to go back. And so we prepared in that motion and in that format and in that way. That's what we do with our clients inside the Mature Adult Intensive and the Save the Diaspora happening June 28th. 2 different programs. Check it out, link in the description, and go to our website, www.journeywithusmove.africa.com/services, because you can prepare and leave for good. You don't have to be bouncing back and forth. We suggest that you don't, because while flight prices are down right now, remember I just told you, the Strait of Hormuz is functionally closed again. The Sahel region has already said they don't really want Americans in their country, and you have to just respect that, because we are in a WW3 era. People that want you to think that you are not in World War III, they are on cloud 9, okay? They are in a made-up world. When you have these proxy wars happening all over the entire earth, Russia versus Ukraine, everybody's like, well, Europe seems calm. Literally. In Eastern Europe, you have the Russia-Ukraine war. That means World War III is at the door. This is why the European nations like France, like Germany, like Belgium, have been warning their citizens, hey, get ready for war. You want to stockpile. Something's going to heat up by summertime. You want to stockpile. Even if it doesn't come June 30th, 2026, you still want to be ready. Anytime governments tell you to be ready, that's a sign that you may just want to leave that nation altogether, right? Especially if it's in the West. At the end of the day, the world is certainly becoming increasingly more multipolar. Things are not the way they used to be. Foundations that were laid maybe prior to World War II or during the World War I, World War II era, those foundations are being shaken to their core. You don't know what the world's going to look like tomorrow, but you can pray, you can read the scriptures, you can discern and ask the Father, okay, where would you have me to maneuver in this earth? What am I maybe viewing wrong about America, about Canada, about the United Kingdom? Should I stay here when power is going to be cut? Should I stay here as they're feeding AI all the water and electricity that humans need for survival? Or should I go to the global south? I'm not saying everywhere in the global south is safe. I wouldn't go to North Africa, right? There's countries I wouldn't even go to in Africa. But you need to figure out where your safe territory is, where your Goshen is, because at the end of the day, America's not a solution, period. The United Kingdom, not a solution. Canada, not a solution. France, not a solution. If I could just tell you the amount of French people that have been fleeing France to go to Mauritius, because Mauritius is as to France as Puerto Rico is to America, or a Costa Rica, even though Mauritius is its own sovereign nation. If I could just tell you, because a lot of Americans think fleeing to Europe is the answer, and it's 100% not the answer. That's a nice vacation. It's a nice stop on the way to wherever you're going to go down south, but you want to bring yourself further down south. See, we are so far from human nature in America that quite literally the European Union has food products that are more organic than America. They eat better food than us. And so we go to Europe, those of us who are out there, go to Europe and we're like, wow, this is like real butter, real cheese, real bread. And we just stay there and we're like, well, that's it. That's the solution. And that, you know, that's a good buy stop and a bypass on the way to find a solution more south. But believe me, in World War III, you want to be in an agricultural based society or in proximity to an agricultural based society. And the best ones are in Africa. Of course, you also have the tea fields out there in Vietnam and in China and things of that nature. But I would really just even be weary about Asia at this time, because they cited that once the oil goes out there, they were already running low. So with the Strait closing again, let's just put it like this. The first half of 2026 is going to look like a cakewalk compared to what this last half is going to look like, okay? Quite literally, because we're already seeing it. You're feeling it in the food prices. You're feeling it in the gas prices. And of course, World War III impacts the whole earth, but it does not impact the whole earth equally. Of course, judgment comes to the earth, but it does not come to the earth equally. Quite literally in the scriptures, it says, save the wine and the oil until the times have come. Do not touch the wine and the oil until the times have been fulfilled. Meaning there are people on this earth that are designated for safety before the vials fill up and pour out on the earth. That's literally Yah saying, I'm not going to judge the earth equally. I'm going to save a remnant. That's just what he does. If you read the scriptures, then you know that's how Yah operates. He always has a piece of favor, a piece of escape, a piece of deliverance, literally to the Hebrew Eber, E-B-E-R, which is the ancestor of the Hebrew people, the ancestor of Abraham. His name literally means to cross over the two rivers. So there is always, always, always accompanied with the promise, the idea of I have to travel somewhere and get out of this place to go to the next place. And that's the display of my faith. That's literally the foundation of the Hebrews. Like that's what it stems from. If you were to study just a little bit of Hebrew, you would find Eber, the ancestor of the Hebrew people that crossed over the two rivers, the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, to go into a place that he had not been before to find pasture. That's the idea here, and it's going to be the same thing. If Noah had to do that same thing in the times of Noah, to move to a different place, move into an ark, move into a safe haven, to go somewhere else in the world to find safety as the flood ocean waters were coming, we know Yah will never flood the earth again, but this time he's going to judge the world in fire. You don't know what that fire is going to look like, but you should inquire and say, well, Father, make me my Noah boat. Make me my ark. Where's my ark going to be? You're going to have to pray in the spirit. You're going to have to be discerning in the spirit, because these are spiritual fights and spiritual battles. Anybody that tells you otherwise is just, they're walking with their eyes completely shut. It's like that scripture in the book of Isaiah where the prophet Isaiah said, if they speak not according to the prophecies of this book and to the law, it is because there is no light in them. Be aware of who you listen to in these times, because you have people that are walking cyborgs as well. They get these nano chips, they get these cyborg whatever in their hands, and now they're just half human, half AI. This is why you should move to Africa. It just doesn't impact Africa to the extent that it impacts America. I'll leave you with a story. How I know this is because I've traveled so much through the Swahili coast, so much through the African islands, including Zanzibar. There are places where people do not have smartphones. There are mountainous regions. We own property in the mountainous regions of East Africa, and we keep it on the down low for a reason. Where there are entire cities on top of a mountain that's 7,000 feet in the air. There's so many things that we see, that we do behind the scenes, that people do not know on YouTube, because it's designed to be that way. According to the book of Proverbs, discretion shall do what? Guard you and guard your ways. There are things we talk about, things our clients know about, things investors know about behind the scenes that will never reach the light of day of YouTube. Because it's time for that. It's time for people who are quiet behind the scenes, who know how to maneuver their resources, who want to maneuver their resources, and they're not telling the world. They're not posting it on social media. They're not doing a selfie like, hey, I'm with Journey with it. We're not doing that. It's not time for that in the earth. If you knew what time it was in the earth, I wish y'all could just understand and see in the spirit realm. If you can see in the spirit realm, leave a comment down below. If you knew what time it was on the earth, you would not play around. You would be getting your resources together, your network together, your global advisor board together, and understand the markets, understand what's happening, understand where the organic farms are near you, talk to people in your community, have a route of exodus, even if you didn't want to exit tomorrow or next week or next month like some of our clients are, and my family's coming next month. Even if you didn't want to do those things, you would still be ready with a plan B. That's what a plan B is. A plan B isn't a plan A. A plan B is, if this doesn't work out, this is our exodus route. If this doesn't come to fruition, here's our pathway into the island nations of Africa. Think of Cape Verde, a Mauritius, a Zanzibar, if you like Zanzibar, a Mayotte, if you want to go to Mayotte or be aware of Mayotte, because Mayotte is quite literally an island nation on the Swahili coast that has one ATM. Now, somebody leave a comment, let me know. For an island nation that has one ATM, how are you going to bring the full beast system infrastructure to that island? Somebody they have one ATM on the whole island, and sometimes it doesn't even work. On Mayotte. This is why y'all talk so much. You know, I can just rant on about this all day. So much about the coastlands. You should see this in the book of Isaiah, Isaiah 40, 41, 42, 43. He says, the coastlands wait for me. And I just said, Father, why the coastlands? Why are the islands waiting for you? What are they waiting for? Who's there waiting? Why are they waiting? There must be a reason they're waiting, but shalom, shalom. I'll leave you with that in this video. You can go study that for yourself. Go see that for yourself, okay? Because this world, the straits closed, France, Germany, Belgium, all the folks, the United Kingdom, America, it's all going down. The entire thing, the entire Western economic system is going to collapse and give birth to a more multipolar world that will be under super hyper surveillance control, but it will not be equal territory everywhere. There will be a deliverance. There will be a physical escape, because the Most High has always been a physical creator. He created the earth, after all. It's a physical place. So there is going to be a physical deliverance and a physical escape. You just have to figure out what that is for you and your family. Shalom, shalom. I'll see you in the next video.